Welcome back to Factorio MSX Gigabase. Okay guys, the oil revamp has happened and, well, we're close to 30 UPS, but we're kind of not quite there. And, I mean, that's it really. There's not much else to say about it. We are doing more product overall. I think everything's in place. Now, I did manage to add track up here. It's a little bit more complex here, so for the moment I haven't actually even tried to do it. But, yeah, and then there was a bit of a backlog of trains that we're trying to get through that couldn't because we were interrupting their whole processing, so there was that to deal with. But yeah, the long and the short of it is we did not quite get to 30. I mean, it does pop up, especially when I'm not recording, it does pop up to 30 every now and then. So what else? Well, mining productivity 330. We are fairly close to the end of the mining productivity. So we're going to start the bot capacity research fairly soon. If we have a look at F5, you can see entities. I mean, they've dropped by about 2 microseconds per update, the entity update, and there might be some other bits here that are related to the whole thing. And so, I mean, it's definitely worthwhile. It's better than not having that too, but it didn't do quite enough to get over the 30. Getting over 30 would have been nice. It probably means that we're going to have, well, Buckley's chance, I guess, of getting back over 40, even with the bot capacity research. I mean, there are some other things we could do. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. There are some other things we could do. For example, if we wanted to just focus totally on vanilla science, vanilla infinite research, we probably don't need this production module facility anymore. And, I mean, this is not a small facility. This can churn out a serious number of production modules per minute, level 3. And I mean, look at that. You have, if you look at the stack inserters plus the blue inserters, you've got almost 600 of them together. You've got another 216 assembly machines. You've got a bunch of bots and so on. You've got the rail infrastructure. You have the interference here with trains going through, so it would make it easier for the trains to go through. We could get rid of that as well. We could do the same with the speed module level 3s and get rid of all this track and this thing. We couldn't totally get rid of it because we need this part of it for the rockets, but you know, you've got a comparable setup to that down there. Plus we could go, well, you know, we don't actually need the military science, and so you've got this big module here. That's, I guess, you know, it's basically equivalent to one of these other ones. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we would go down to 7. So you'd get a saving there. We could do those things. We're not going to, even though they probably would give us 2 or 3 more micro seconds in the update saved. We're not going to do them because we're going to need these soon enough. If you look at the tech, say fuel cells, well, that's processing units. That needs energy mark 2s, processing units. There you go, 800 productivity modules. We need a bunch of these too. So when we're making the life support units, we're not just making one. We need 16 of them, I think it is, per rocket, and it's 25 rockets in total. So we need a bunch of productivity modules. And there you go, we need all 3 of the modules, so instead of getting rid of the modules, we actually are going to even need to build the efficiency modules. So it's kind of short-sighted. It would also be short-sighted from the point of view of we're not done building. We haven't built any of the facilities to make those specialized SpaceX parts. Plus we have to expand, believe it or not, we will be expanding science. If you remember, way back when we built science, we left room for an extension to go up here and basically double the size of the stack so that we could double green and red to cope with the fact that it's really, if you look at most of the sciences with SpaceX, they're 2-minute sciences, but you need 2 of red and green, so 6,000 a minute is basically 12,000 for 2 minutes, so that's what you need, 12,000 red and green if you're going to get the most out of the other colours of the rainbow, so like at the 6,000 level. So that's what we're going to do. Now, something that I don't know how much resource it takes to have these guys just sitting here, but it probably isn't nothing. These things jump around, it's hard to tell what they're going to show at any point in time, so it's a little bit hard to know exactly what a certain thing has saved you if you take it off. I doubt that would be it's gone slower now, exactly, so I doubt it's going to be easy to tell, but if we do all of these, we're getting rid of train stops, we're getting rid of lasers, simplifying our rail network. I mean, we could probably rip out this whole exterior stuff because we're not really needing to defend anymore with pollution off. But I really just wanted a fairly mind neutral activity to do while we sort of talk about the UPS and where we've got with it and what some of our options to try and beat it could have been if we were single-mindedly looking at infinite research, which I mean, I don't think those measures would be enough to get us to 60, unfortunately. That does seem to be something that's out of our reach. Once we started dropping, it hit hard. There wasn't that much we could really do about it ultimately. We did stall it quite effectively several times as it looked like we had already breached the zone. With no going back, and I mean that's why we dealt with it so viciously at the time, but yeah. In the end, it's just a fairly aggressive thing, and everything just mounts up. Becomes quite difficult. Now, we certainly are very cognizant still of the UPS, because in a way, I mean, I'm quite sure a factory running with just 3,000 would behave a lot more smoothly and be a lot easier to have set up and so on, and setting up one for capability of doing 6,000 in a minute. It's just unfortunate that we're actually performing no better than a 3,000 running at 60 UPS. But having said that, once we have completed all of the SpaceX research, and I don't think it's actually going to take too long to get through it, so once we've completed it all, we'll actually rip out the science facility altogether. I'll blueprint it all, of course, so that it's available should I want to reinstate it for some reason. But for the purpose of completing SpaceX, we will be single-mindedly tackling the science, and then we will move on to the actual components that we need in the to launch. And when we're doing that, there's no point having the science sitting around burning up UPS, so that will certainly help. I don't know if it's a good idea throwing away all my radars out here, because they were highlighting some aliens, but that's crude. But never mind. I think it's more important just to get rid of these things. We don't need them. You can have some lasers, because they're not doing me any good. Maybe a few of these pipes, which are probably not doing me much good either. Oh, and the bots. So I kind of deliberately planned to start this episode where we were at, with the mining productivity 330 coming to an end, as kind of highlighted last episode. I'm thinking that 330 is, well, I mean, it all helps. Going on further, we could actually make the mines even more efficient. But I am conscious of the fact that version 17 is probably, I mean, I've started talking about the features that are going to be in it in the Friday Facts discussions, so that doesn't mean it's about to launch sort of next week and you should stop all your games or not start new ones because it's about to launch. That's just silly. But it is worth being aware of that fact, so you can start wrapping up very long ones like this one. So I guess that's what we kind of need to be aware of and be prepared to do. So we need to kind of look to finish. Otherwise there could be quite a delay while we have to migrate from 16 to 17. I mean, I've already migrated from 15 that I actually started this on to 16, so that's probably enough. And I'm not really seeing the UPS swing wildly back in our favour, getting rid of these outpost stations, so I guess little outposts at complete rest don't really, and off the main trunk line, don't really do that much, certainly in small numbers. Can't help but think they do something, and maybe even just being out here, we're looking at land that we haven't looked at for ages, so that's sort of forcing the updates to you know, make us aware of what's going on in this area that we are not normally looking at, and that might be causing a little bit of extra work, as it were. But never mind. So I'm not really worried that some of our actions will probably help UPS, because we'll keep doing some of these things, because there is actually quite a lot of research that we're going to do in the bot capacity research. It's not going to be over, well, the first one's going to be over in a ridiculously short period of time, but as I think I've mentioned before, they ramp up pretty aggressively with the TAC cost, as they should, because it would have the ability to be a little bit unbalancing if it did not. It's one of the reasons, I guess, why I don't consider it like a no-no in terms of a vanilla-esque playthrough. There's plenty of things that potentially are no-nos, and there you go, 330 has finished. but I think bot capacity is actually sufficiently far away from the direct production line that we can give it a pass. So alright, we're doing what, 29.3 entity updates, around 23. It's going to be really hard to tell, but let's start our first worker robot cargo size. This will increase items from 4 to 5. It's only 2600. Even though we're only going at half speed, it's not going to take very long. Because, I mean, it really should be less than a minute actual real time, unless there's a slowdown for some reason. UPS is seeming to get even worse, but we haven't even finished this research, so maybe it's complaining about doing this research. I don't know. Maybe. There you go. Okay. And for whatever reason, we have now slowed down to... oh no, there's a bit of a pickup. We're now at 30. 22 in the entity update. Perhaps. Anyway, 4100. It's still not particularly aggressive. This will improve our cargo carrying to size 6, and also is not going to take particularly long. In fact, with a bit of luck, and it's how we get back to the base, but we'll clear out the rest of these little bases. With a bit of luck, some of the speed up that hopefully we'll get out of these worker robot cargo size is going to result in you know, extra savings to the UPS to partly offset the extra cost of them. Maybe. Let's just get rid of some of those. 31, that's kind of nice. The next one is 7800. Doesn't seem to be ramping up that aggressively just yet, but I think it does. Unless the current version is different to what I remember. Where's the next little base? There it is. At least when we're not actually ripping out a base, we are over 30 now, even if only just. But let's keep ripping out these bases anyway. It's academic at best. The effect of all the interim updates just perhaps gives us an indication of how worthwhile each level taken by themselves might be. But yes, I am hoping for a lot more than just only just being in the 30s from this. I don't have any other tools in the arsenal to ease our UPS. There we go, there's another one done. Okay, there you go, 17,000. It's getting a little bit better. Well, better as in more expensive. I think we made RSO do something just then, because there was a major slowdown in the UPS. But yep, 31, that's good. If each level gives us sort of one UPS, That'd be awesome. I'd probably do 20 levels. Or even 30 levels and get it all the way back to 60, but I think we'll find that the costs will get prohibitive in the not too distant future. Are those biters or are they oil? Oil. Very good. So, the things that we have to do while we're doing this worker robot cargo size research is not just wiping out these little defensive outposts, but also obviously fixing up the rundown ore outposts as well in our base. And when we finish this exercise, I guess I'll show you kind of where we've got to with those. There you go, we're at 32. Maybe taking out these outposts is actually helping. That might be the last one, in fact. Yes, it is. Very good. Alright. So, let me just get back onto the correct side of the road for me. And we'll work out what we want to do now. This is definitely giving us some UPS. This intersection is terrible and I want to change it. It's definitely a cause of congestion at times. Maybe right at the moment it's okay. Requests are over the page again, which means I do need to keep doing something. Well, I do need to look at doing something about that very soon. This outpost here, it doesn't look like much at the moment. This used to be our little flagship, our saviour for iron, our 130 million ore. Now look at it. It is, well, if you add up all the bits, it's probably about 1 million, but it's not going to last much longer. And we're currently sending 6 trains to that. So, that is a problem. This ore patch needs a, it needs some construction bots, and it needs a storage chest. We probably need to start opening up this one, which was kind of the next step to make up for this. And there's 7 worker capacity research 7 now is 40,000, which is still not really that significant a research. I think there's not really much that I can do here, although at some point we will have to move the tracks over so that we can actually drill out this bit, but we're not at that point yet, so I don't have to do anything there. This here though, there's actually quite nice oil there, but we're not going to be able to reach it. This one is completely dead. I have actually already redirected the trains, but I need to rip all of this out. And this one here is getting steadily worse with the path that has to be flown, so it needs to be set to go through the middle, probably around about here, which is slightly unfortunate with that in the way, but doesn't really matter. So, and I was supposed to run that line at that point, not from where it's at, so copper is definitely in line for some attention. In fact, let's... oh, we actually can't get to that, can we? Let's tell it to take us to... oh, and this one over here is gone here. We need to tell it to send us somewhere in this direction. Let's tell it to send us to hashtag GC1. That at least is in the right direction. Hashtag GC2, GC1, there it is. And we'll take manual control when we get a little bit closer. So we're on 32, worker robot cargo size 8. We'll keep doing these while they're cheap. I think I was planning to do up to about number 11, which would mean that a bot basically carries the same as one swing of a stack inserter, where the stack's greater than 10. Anything that's sort of like a 50 stack or a 100 stack, it's 12 objects moved at once. If you get your cargo size up to plus 11, it's 1 plus 11, then you know, that would be 12, the same as the stack. But it is possible that we'll actually go further. 33, that's actually starting to look quite nice. The entity update has dropped by about 4 at this point from 23. 4 microseconds per update. And we've completed only 3 levels, so I'm kind of liking that. This is our best chance of crawling back. I really would like to get back over 40 at least, without having to do you know, the drastic things like ripping out those whole modules from the factory that I was talking about. So yeah, this is the way we are going about it. Now, where is GC1 in relation to copper? It's over here. It's probably not too terrible if we just park up there and then hoof it over here, rip this whole thing out, reorganize this one. But it's not the worst. We really need to spend time over here in smelter 3. Got this one, well, I've got these 2 to rip out. This needs to go in the middle. This is turning into a right proper disaster, and it needs somewhere for the construction bots to put spent miners. But yeah, it kind of needs to now have a 2 platform here, or maybe here, and a 2 platform through that one, because the trips that they're all having to do is significant now. What is our science doing? 6k, 5.9, 6k. Purple, where's yellow? Yellow may have got ahead of itself and doesn't need to be building at 6k per minute at the moment, it would seem. Get rid of those guys, get rid of some of these, because we're going to be picking up stuff. We probably don't need to be carrying all of this. Let's try that. Let's hoof it over to copper 10, I think it is. $33 UPS. And this, just even 10% of extra game performance just makes the whole game that much more enjoyable and playable, really. So it's definitely worthwhile. Now if you're running a heavy belt base, this particular mod may not be as beneficial for you, but given that we have a pretty heavy bot base, yeah, we're getting decent results when we're not using our bots in a construction capacity. Look at all these poor little stranded souls. Uh-oh. Oh, this doesn't work anymore. It's been disconnected. So I can't use that one to dump the stuff. I'm going to have to run it either over to here or over to here. I think that one's closer. Just make sure we're not about to get run over. I did actually have a look up here to confirm that. Now, I mean, obviously having the bots being able to carry more helps them out. So, what's next? Do we look at trains? Do we try and increase the capacity of trains? When you can do that without mods, of course, you just have bigger trains. And maybe that is the answer to our train congestion, because this isn't doing anything to trains. They're still running at 4.8. It's the entity update that it's helping out with significantly. I'm not going to need all of these, well, especially now, I'm not going to need all of these bots. So let's deposit them in there. Our bots protected. I don't think so. We're auto-trashing modules, so whether that was a good idea or not, I don't know, but it's cleared them out. And we're about to see the impact of robot cargo size 8 in just a moment. These will start taking enough time that you know, we're not going to just be able to run this episode through to see the end of the full run, because they are going to be ramping up, as I said. It is pretty slow along here. I really do need running paths or something. But they're only useful while you have a destination, and we're actually eliminating this destination, so what value the path? Okay, worker robot cargo size 8 has come in. What's that done? 18. That's nice. Right, 9 is now 99,000. This is minute research, isn't it? No, it's only 30-second research. No wonder we're getting through it so quickly. And it's still not up to the same as a productivity research, even. So why wouldn't you just carry on? Obviously there's no reason why you wouldn't. Now we needed to remove this outpost, well, the station, this ore outpost, so that we can slap the backside of copper like this sort of carry on. Do we need it? Well, if you look down here, there's copper. Copper. Hard to say, but it looks quite likely. These things have dropped right off to 3k per minute. Why is that? Purple. Purple. That one's running, but it's run out of purple. And that one has also run out of purple. Purple, what's the story? Doesn't take much, just a slight hold up. Of a critical resource, and the one train of purple that can fill up at a time gets delayed. Mines start running out, and that's all she wrote. That's no good. I don't need all this wood. Right, that's cleared out a bit of space. We still have some wood though, unfortunately, because we've picked up some more. And the deconstruction is dragging down our UPS, but never mind, it's to be expected. We are starting to run out of time as well. Oh, bots, come on. But yes, I'd definitely like to get over 40. We'll see how expensive these techs get. There's no particular reason why I have to stop at 11. That was a self-imposed limit that I put on myself for my last playthrough. But if they stay sort of at this sort of level of cheapness, or relative cheapness, and especially if we're not quite ready to get on with the SpaceX research, we could well knock over a few more beyond 11. Doesn't look like it's actually ramping up quite as quickly as I had thought that it would. So, now that we're here, I guess I have already mentioned it, haven't I? The fact that I was supposed to come out from this one. So what I'll do is I will create an alternative path along here. We'll just start it. We're not obviously going to have time to finish it, but the idea will be, instead of coming out down here, and instead of this being an intersection, we'll just make a curve that comes in about here, where we work once we've worked out exactly where we want to come across, and I'll move that station up to there. That will save a little bit, because we still want to do that even with more efficient bots. Any source of improvement that we can find, the better. And we can tell ourselves that it's not just mods that have saved our UPS. One mod, really. It's not mods, it's just a single mod that is doing this for us. I mean, it would be nice if the slowed down UPS was like 45 or something rather than, you know, 30. But we might be getting ahead of ourselves a bit there. How are we doing? Oh, we've got tons of track. It's just our bots that need a bit of a hurry up. I've been taking Smoko for a little bit too long. Come on, bots. I'm sure they'll... Oh, how's this working? Ooh. Do I have landfill? I may actually need landfill to do this final bit. Unless we sweep down here. So that's going to delay us anyway. But the idea basically is we're supposed to come along here and down here, so it's just one long straight instead of sort of all this zigzag kind of nonsense. But given that we've run into a hurdle and that we are going to need some landfill, I'm going to call it here, guys. Thanks for joining me. Slightly disappointing we couldn't get to the 30 without the worker robot cargo size, or back to the 30. But certainly it's looking promising that we'll get some good UPS gains with the worker robot cargo size. So looking forward to a much faster game as we head towards getting on with the SpaceX research. Thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time, guys. Bye bye for now.